Viva! Stop me when you want to, Lubie. Viva Las Vegas. Yeah, it's on, man. Game on, dude, my friend. Morning, everybody. Good to be with you here on Defo and 5. Another fine edition here. Lubie knows this story, but I don't know about the people on 5 Reason Sports Network so much because it's kind of a new audience and a different platform for us. But I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately, Lubie. How are you, by the way? You must be in absolute euphoria. Last night was just a terrific game, about as much fun and entertainment as you could possibly get. We were not there, but watching on TV, it's almost as if the arena was just jumping into my bedroom here as I was watching a game last night. Very exciting all the way through. Panthers go up 2-0. Carolina comes back and ties it up 2-2. And you're thinking, all right, well, let's see the way this one's going to go. We don't want to be in another situation where the speculation is, oh, yeah, well, they're going to win game 5. We'll have to come back and wrap it up in game 6. That's what we're kind of going and cycling through with the Miami Heat, which the assumption is out there that Boston is going to win game 5 tonight and force a game 6 back in Miami a couple of nights from now. The Panthers, however, you talk about taking care of business. After getting tied up 2-2, they take a 3-2 lead, and that holds up until 3 minutes and 20 seconds or so are left in the third period. You're thinking, well, when is the goalie going to get yanked there for Carolina? And all of a sudden, you're going to see this massive pressure. Maybe, as you mentioned in the previous game, you had like 3 minutes and 20 seconds of empty net. The Panthers couldn't find it with a compass, and the pressure was on, and Bobrovsky managed to hang in there and pitched a 1-0 shutout. Was it going to be more of the same? I'm looking for Brenda Moore to give the sign. Come on, get out of there. And it doesn't happen because with about 3:20 to go, Carolina finds a way. They were putting a lot of pressure on the Cats from the point where they went down 3-2 and very easily could have won the series 4-0 themselves, losing all 4 games by 1 goal, 2 in overtime, one with 4.9 seconds to go in a game. And the other one also, they had a 1-0 lead for about a period and a half and managed to have that hold up while Carolina was buzzing around Bobrovsky, who was brilliant. Bobrovsky not quite as great as he's been throughout the playoffs, but good enough. And the Florida Panthers are on their way to the Stanley Cup Finals. I keep referencing first time since '96. It's only the second time, period. Let's put it that way. And it may have been a moment. I don't know that we thought with any level of surety that would ever happen again. Kind of like the Dolphins in the Super Bowl. What if they never get back to the Super Bowl? Marlins in the World Series. There's a pretty good chance that they don't sniff a World Series for a long period of time because we're absolutely ecstatic that they've reached 500 this late in the season. It's like, whoa, man, look at that. We're a quarter of the way through the season. We're still 500. Incredible. And here's a team that was dead, Lubie, dead in the water. They had to rely on help from an unlikely source. I think it was the Capitals that knocked off the Penguins late in the season. And, here was a team that was not even destined to go to the postseason with Ovechkin notwithstanding. And, they needed that kind of help to get into the postseason in the first place. Face the Bruins in the first round. The Bruins, who were supposed to leave everybody in ruins, and they find a way after being down 3-1 to come back. And now we're on a streak that I would think is unprecedented, not just in the postseason, but at any time, even in spring training. We haven't seen a run like this by a team where they now are 8-1 against Toronto and Carolina, two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference and in the NHL, and have won 11 of the last 12. Incredible in postseason. Amazing. With Bobrovsky in the pipes, a guy that we wanted to run out of town. I mean, that they wanted to ship this guy back to Russia from the time that he signed. I don't even think the ink was dry. In fact, here's the contract, right? The ink wasn't even dry yet. And everybody's like, what? You're going to pay $70 million for this stiff? What, are you out of your mind? And Dale Talon, I might have been part of the reason that he's no longer with us, but this Bill Zito makes one of the boldest moves that we've seen in acquiring Matt Tkachuk. And I keep coming back to this. That probably is the most significant acquisition of a single player in the history of South Florida sports. Would you say that's a fair statement, at least for this season? And, it may hold up over the length of time. How are you, Lubie? Okay? I mean, what's going on, my friend?
I'm just letting you go.
It was the old Ron Harrison thing though with me. I mean, I've been doing a lot of reflecting on my life. Tina Turner checked out yesterday.
Of
Had a
course.
good friend that it goes way back. I hadn't seen this guy in a while, but when I worked in horse racing, I was very friendly with many of the people in the horseman's side on the horseman's side of things at the various racetracks. And there was a guy named Bill Kaplan who I referred to on TV all the time when I was doing the replay show as the amazing one because he would seemingly be up against it in terms of the level of talent that he had in his barn, and he would always find ways to come up with significant horses. Just checked out at 77. I've been doing a lot of reflecting on my walks of life, Luby, about my time here in South Florida, and what I want to do the rest of the way, how I want to be, and what's the best way to just ride out the door there and sustain this magic carpet ride that I've kind of been on with a few bumps along the way. And I was thinking back to the time when I started here, and my buddy Ron Harrison, who was kind of, I guess, he was a mentor of sorts in that he knew nothing about sports and was yet the king of the live testimonial and the so-called live spot. This guy could sell anything, man. He was selling. I mean, before Eric Estrada was even born, this guy was selling land in North Carolina that nobody could inhabit and selling it out on an AM radio show, doing a sportscast in the morning. And he would just go into this thing, yeah, the mountains of North Carolina. And it was brilliant. You wanted to move there. But knowing nothing about sports and coming up from Isla Morada in the Keys every day to Carroll City, where the station was located, Harrison had little time to figure out what was going on. And regardless of what happened, he would begin virtually every sportscast with, "Boy, what a game last night." And I think that applies here, does it not? That was fantastic. I mean, how exhilarating was that? Now, Luby, for the
Yes.
second time, how are you this fine morning? And you were a texting maniac last night with Mayo, who's now Mr. Puck. Unbelievable. Mayo, who didn't care. Remember Mayo's attitude about everything before the playoffs got started? Yeah, I don't care about sports
100%.
anymore.
Yeah,
All I
100%.
want to do is eat meat
I mean, he was eating everything then.
and bet horses and play poker. Okay, Mike. That's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of that. But all of a sudden, he's got stats on top of stats. Well, this is the sixth time in 7 games, and deep rooted, mathematical analysis and analytics on what's going on. But what's going on is the team's on fire. That's all you can say. They even when outplayed, they find a way to win, which is pretty incredible. Because I thought Carolina from about the midway point of that game on, they were dominant
Yes.
and they just couldn't get anything by Bobrovsky. They did get the one goal with 3:20 to go. I'm not sure that you could really point a finger. You were saying Bobrovsky had reverted back to being himself. The stiff that nobody wanted to see on the roster. But
He was,
yeah, I don't
yeah.
think any of those goals were that bad.
No.
Yeah,
I said he sucked because I was annoyed that he had given up the 2 goals and they got a 2-goal lead.
he only had stopped the previous 100 shots he had faced.
But that's the thing is when I was more intently watching the game, he was getting barraged, and they weren't the thing that we talked about how they had gotten the defense wasn't great, but it had gotten better at not allowing second chances because a lot of the
Yeah.
time, no matter how crazy the shot is, goalies are good at stopping the first shot. It's the rebound off the first shot. Bobrovsky was not great at corralling it, and then they also weren't great at getting rid of it. Well, this series they had gotten pretty good at that. Where there was a lot of
Puck
shots,
management.
but they would make sure to get rid of it or contain it and then get a rush themselves. That didn't happen last night. I don't know if it was Carolina's aggression or I don't know what it was, but their defense was ass. Like it was just
They were getting destroyed, man. I mean, there was a ton of pressure being put on by Carolina.
I was trying, but there's only so much you can do, and there's 6 guys. There's like 8 guys
Swarming the offensive zone. It was a lot of fun. I mean, and there was tension all throughout, and you're thinking, geez, you'd love to see the team close it out last night on the home ice and not have to face the possibility of a game 5 and then possibly coming back here for, what would be maybe even a do or die game 6, which is what you're looking at, in spite of all of the negativity statistically about teams that are trailing 3-0. You still can chip away at it one game at a time. And if you do, guess what? I mean, the teams that we were facing here with our South Florida lineups were also going to be facing the possibility of having to win a game 7 on the road if it got that far. So you didn't want to let it get to that point, right? Don't let it get that far. Don't get involved, and just tremendous. Matt Kachuk, what else can you say about what this guy is doing right now? I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, who would you give the MVP trophy to if you were going to give the MVP of the playoffs right now? Would it be Kachuk? 3 game winning goals out of 4, 2 in overtime, and 1 with 4.9 seconds to go. Assisted on the lone goal that they had in their 1-0 game in Game 3. Or Bobrovsky, who
Been great.
comes out of nowhere. I mean, comes literally out of the goalie closet, off the goalie shelf, dusts himself off, and he's playing like Patrick Waugh. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you could get.
I would go co-MVPs. I think you would have to at this point.
I don't know if they do that, but I was gonna say either you could give it to either guy and they'd be deserving, or you could do co. I get it's weird because hockey is always about the goalie staying on its head, and until last night he had. I mean, giving that last.
I thought he did well last night. Also,
It was
I
great.
actually
I
did.
mean,
Yeah.
look, the last goal bothered me a little bit because he had a couple of his goals he had a chance to cover up and he didn't, and he had been really good at doing that, so that frustrated me. Now again, when, when they're just
Well,
going
it's the old adage in
so
hockey
much.
where Jesus saves and Esposito's there to knock in the rebound.
That's the thing. If you're not that your guys aren't helping you clear it, there's only so much you can do. So I wasn't mad at him last night. And look, they rode. I don't know if it's Kachuk or Bobrovsky, but together they've rode that wave as a team that whenever there's any kind of pressure, they meet it and exceed it. And that's literally what happened. That's why I feel for the Hurricanes, because it wasn't that they didn't play well. Look, in
Oh
Gretzky,
no, they were dynamite.
they won
Also,
a
yeah.
series. Wayne Gretzky, yeah, to this moment, I don't know if he can see the Panthers winning the series.
Yeah.
Like in his eyes,
Many people will have them losing, the series to Carolina, or make a case that Carolina played better in the series.
they may have. So, and that's the thing. But like Bobrovsky and the team did just enough. Look, it happened last night. And I know you were talking shit about the penalty. I don't know this.
I didn't think it was, not
Benefit
a
of the doubt.
penalty. You just don't usually see the whistle blow in that spot
I
on something like that. I mean, he wasn't on a breakout. He was behind the net, and
behind.
it was sort of arbitrary contact. I don't know. There didn't seem to be any deliberate nature to it. Who wants to pick up a penalty with a minute to go in a game that's tied, and you're facing elimination? I mean, that's kind of a stupid thing to do. But you don't usually see that call. They let a lot of other stuff go. There were some high sticks, I mean, that were blatantly right in front of the officials. They did call penalties in the game, but not a lot of
More
them.
than they've been.
They certainly weren't calling everything. And, you don't usually see that. I'm with you on this. I agree with you. We've talked about it a zillion times in relation to a lot of sports. Don't change the way that you're calling the game just because it's the end of the game. If a play is a foul at the beginning of the game and some guy gets clobbered on his way to the basket in the NBA, you can't just swallow the whistle at that point. But in this case, with the impact of where that penalty occurred and at what time and the nature of it, it wasn't like some blatant cross check where the guy's head went, bouncing into the boards or anything. I've rarely seen the whistle blow in that spot.
I know they called a lot more penalties last night than they've been calling it. They
Yeah.
called it really tight last night. Gudis, I don't remember a guy getting 2 penalties in the same game, and I think he got 2 within 2 periods. The high stick, the second high stick was just his stick was standing there and it hit a guy in the face, and that's a high stick. He
Yeah.
didn't fight it. The Panthers didn't fight it. It was
By its very definition,
it was
stick to the face is a high stick.
he didn't go at the guy, but they were skating. The play was dead, and his stick hit a guy in the face. He got the penalty.
Gudis is a penalty waiting to happen, though.
Yeah,
I mean, a functional player, but still, I mean,
he's very aggressive.
he's the equivalent of a modern day hockey goon, Gudis.
Yes. Yeah, actually, yes. So I look, when they first called it, I was like, that's weird to call a penalty now. And then they showed it. I was like, look, the guy's skating by himself,
Yeah.
comes from behind and openly takes.
Oh,
his
yeah, that interference or cross check, whatever they called it.
I was talking about the thing at the end. I'm like, he didn't have to do that. Like, I didn't know if that guy was going to go down the ice and score. He took it upon himself to openly trip him. I'm like, that is tripping. It was late and it was weird that he did it. And they could have not called it and no one would have really given them shit. But it was tripping. Brind'Amour lost it all series. That was the least he lost it over call. And you would think at that point he'd be losing.
I think he was exacerbated. I mean, he just, he couldn't, is that the right word? No, I don't think so.
Exasperated.
Exasperated, yeah, exacerbated. Yeah, I mean, and it could have been exacerbated because he was not happy with those situations. But I won't blame the officials for what happened there. You could have blown the whistle there. Was it a trip? Yeah. I mean, you don't usually see that at that stage of the game, especially a postseason game of that magnitude where. One team has been desperate, and you've got a minute to go in the contest. So now you're going to give a team a power play for the final minute and the first minute of potential overtime, which it looked like the game was going to go to
Mhm.
a huge advantage based on the nature of the infraction that took place and where it took place. And it wasn't like the guy was on a breakaway and he got tripped up or something. I mean, literally, he was behind the net, and I don't even know that he had possession of the puck. I don't think so.
No, he was skating out, and he
Yeah,
had ice in front of him. Look, I'm not. I wasn't bringing up to talk about the penalty. What I'm saying is, if you want to say they got assisted in that, that's fine. I
I'm not going to say that the officials cost
I'm not gonna
Carolina the
blame
game.
refs in
Yeah,
hockey.
yeah.
Like I do it enough in basketball. But what I will say is, even with that, the Panthers have sucked on their power play. It's not like the Panthers are this amazing power play team. They score
No,
once a
they're
game.
weak on both sides of that.
They're bad. So
Yeah,
to take that power play and be like, and look, it still almost didn't score. They went a minute,
yeah.
and it took the last 10 seconds for some Fakakta play to come together. This
And Bennett had his stick up the goalie's ass there, as he was trying to get to the other side of the net. And anyway, fantastic, just beautiful stuff. I mean, we could go on talking about this forever, and we will because we'll have the Defo show around the corner. Defo and five, though. Now we'll continue with the Stanley Cup Finals. Something that seemed extremely far fetched not that long ago. As recently as a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about what a failure this team was. And they looked like they were going to miss the postseason. They eked their way in there, only to potentially get crushed by the Boston Bruins. And you would have said, "All right, well, at least they lost to the team that ended up winning the Stanley Cup." None of that has transpired. Boston is questioning themselves. Toronto is already making changes in the front office and may do even more than that. And now Carolina. I don't know that Carolina needs to hang their heads after that series, but you could attribute a lot of it to tough luck. But as competitive a series as you could possibly get in a 4-0 sweep, that's going to look, kind of lopsided, isn't it? 10, 20 years from now when people go back and look, hey, look at that 22-23 season. Panthers swept, in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Carolina Hurricanes. No disgrace on the part of the Hurricanes. Highly
Oh, the
positive
war.
series.
Every it was reminiscent of that Avalanche Stanley Cup where
Yeah.
people remembered as a sweep. You know what? I didn't leave that series with my head down. Like
No,
that,
no.
every game the Panthers
Well,
had,
we felt emboldened by that series, did we not?
like that last game was like 3 overtimes. The Beezer was outplaying Wah for most of that freaking game. Like,
Let's get Vegas in there tonight, huh?
yeah, come on.
Now, how can we find a sponsor to send us out there? Jim Sardi suggested that.
Okay, I'm down.
I mean, what do we need? We need somebody to pop for our airfare. I could
I just
probably
don't know how
pop
we
us.
get credentials. Mayo was talking about it. Being someone who's done this for big series because I did it with the Heat, like you have to ask weeks in advance. Like that was my problem. I forgot to. We haven't done it in so long that I didn't even think about asking.
Don't they realize though that we had no clue that we were going to be there?
I don't know. You can. I'll leave this to you and Mayo. You guys have a lot more connects than I do. If you know someone that could speed up the credential process, we can find
Maybe
it.
I'll make a call to England, where I think my man Jim Frivola is, who
There you
used to be the marketing director and business director for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. He was there at the inception. I think he's with like Manchester United or something now. But I mean, maybe he's got a connection there. It sure would be great. I mean, what would be a better chance? Us getting a ticket to see one of these finals games in Las Vegas, if it comes to that, or us being able to find some tickets here?
Oh God. I mean, I would presume here, but I hope
Do
not.
we have any connections? Do we have any pull locally anymore? I don't know. All
We
right,
know everyone.
we've got to run. We got things to do. That's it for Defo and Five. Congratulations to everybody who was involved with the Florida Panther organization, and they've done a tremendous job. And who knows? Maybe we'll be drinking from the coveted Stanley Cup. That would really be something. 30 years into the franchise's existence, we may be sitting on that nice piece of silver. All right, we'll see you next time. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest, and that's today's edition of Defo and Five.